So a subscriber of mine was just commenting on one of my videos about intermittent fasting, about how much gold and silver he could buy if one stopped eating altogether. I think it's a good thought experiment, actually. And it's a thought experiment I've entertained in at one point. And the reason, even though it's not possible, right? I think the vast majority of people spend most of their food budget on pseudo food, right? Food they don't actually need, right? If they stop to think about it, junk food, processed foods, fast food, right? If you stop to think about it, a lot of our food budget is really spent on pseudo eating, right? Very little of it is spent on survival eating, right? If you stop to think about it. I actually had a friend of mine who last year when I was making my resolution to go on intermittent fasting, he was making a resolution to quit smoking and to quit drinking, or at least cut back on drinking. I don't think he had a drinking problem, but we were calculating how much money he could save, and we calculated that it was he could take multiple vacations to his favorite destination. This was before COVID-19 when we were working this out, when it was actually possible to take those trips. And I suggested to him to take some trips to Gdansk, Poland. And we calculated that he smoked the equivalent of 2 trips to Gdansk every year. Obviously, Gdansk is relatively inexpensive. Aside from the plane ticket, it's very expensive to go there. At the time, you got to understand, my life is very small to pack, right? If I go to Gdansk, I usually book out of my apartment, and so I'm actually saving money when I take a trip to Gdansk, depending on your lifestyle, right? Anyways, so I was suggesting to him to take a couple trips to Gdansk, Poland. He's never heard of Gdansk, obviously, but he has his other favorite destinations, and we calculated how many times he could go to some of those places. Now, as I did the calculation with him, I realized I spent even more money on food than he does on cigarettes. And at the time in 2020, a lot of my eating was pseudo eating. Nowadays, I don't have much to cut out of my eating. Well, I do, because I still love to eat out at restaurants, but not necessarily for the calories. I love to eat out at restaurants because I want to mingle with the right people. I want to meet somebody eventually to start my computer game writing business with, or potentially a future life partner. But that's why I eat out, right? Very, very rarely do I eat out because of calories or survival or binge eating problems nowadays, right? So that's a whole different story. The other reason I mused about what I would do with my life if I could stop eating is because of the time and the convenience that it comes with, right? How much time a day do you spend eating? I think that's a trick question. Because if you stop to think about it, a lot of activities revolve around having to eat, right? Having to clean the place, having to shop for food, having your activities be interrupted by having to eat. I think the average person, if you calculate all that, it's not unusual to spend 4 or 5 hours a day eating. And so I would love to have all that time to write computer games. Actually, I've reclaimed a lot of that time because of eating only every other day or potentially once a day, right? And I think life is a whole lot cleaner. I also find it a lot easier to focus, especially when we go back to working at the office. If I don't eat at the office at all, I find I don't crave food at the office. Unfortunately, I live in a very small apartment where it's very hard for me to segregate my eating and my other activities. But when we go back to the office, that's going to save me a whole lot of hassle, I think. Not to mention my stuff is a whole lot cleaner. Even ever since I started intermittent fasting, my computer, my car, everything just doesn't get sticky. And I find it easier to focus on other activities and also to focus on food when I segregate the activities. Anyways, I have mused about what I would do with all the money and time saved from not eating. I didn't think of it in terms of buying gold and silver, though. I thought about it in terms of other things I could entertain myself with and not poison myself, not kill myself with. Anyways, I have entertained it. Thanks for watching.